Welcome back to Sonoma Raceway here in the hills of Napa, Sonoma. Beautiful part of the world. Vallejo just across the estuary. And this is Velocity Invitational from Sonoma Raceway. And this is the fifth running of the event. And I've been very proud and honored to be part of this festival of historic racing since it began 5 years ago, the brainchild of one Jeffrey O'Neill, who just got second place in the previous race. And right now, we've got an exhibition of hypercars out on track, including that Senna, McLaren Senna, driven by Tony Kanaan earlier today. But this is one of our exhibition groups. We've got several exhibition groups that aren't races per se, just a chance to stretch the legs on some of these cars. And if you're asking yourself, what is a hypercar? I don't understand that. Well, I can tell you that you've got supercars, but hypercars, if you like, are the next step up. And it basically means that they are cars that are over 800 brake horsepower, and effectively they go into a world that not many of us get a chance to be up close and personal with, because they are very exotic, very expensive, and very high-performance cars. And usually very fast, too. When I think of something like the Bugatti Chiron Supersport, top speed of 273 miles an hour, and a starting price of, what, $3.5 million. So, yeah. You've got to be serious about your racing when it comes to these cars. And this is all part of how Velocity Invitational's philosophy, which is, yeah, we've got the historics, but of course there are many types of different cars that are classic in their own way, maybe a little bit more modern, but still very worthy of an event like this, because this is for the aficionados. This is for lovers of the automobile, both old and new. And what I love about an event like this is you can see the progression, you can see the design touches that each and every one of the designers has put into some of the more modern cars, and they take just little bits of inspiration from what's gone in the past. And as you see the group racing each and every day, you can see just little trails of how somebody got the idea to do this with a particular wing or shape it in a particular way, and that goes right back in history. So just as Enzo Ferrari and Maserati were producing cars that were supercars, hypercars back in the day, these are the current, more hypercars. McLaren, of course, have been in this market since the early 90s and have started producing some really nice sports cars. And don't know whether Bruce McLaren was going that way, but certainly the legacy now of McLaren automobiles is equal, I would argue, with its racing. And of course, McLaren going through a huge purple patch at the moment, winning Grand Prix, leading the manufacturer's title in Formula One, and also doing a pretty handy job here stateside in Indy cars. And we've got several of their IndyCar drivers here, including the vice principal of McLaren Arrow McLaren IndyCar in Tony Kanaan. Nolan Siegel's here. Christian Lundgaard is also here this weekend. So we've got quite a few current drivers, which is great to have. Travis Pastrana expecting here. Roman Grosjean, as we've mentioned, was out earlier. And Pippa Mann is also here. She's here for the motorsports initiative for women, and the summit, if you will, Women's Motorsports Summit, led by Josie Rimmer. We've also got Ryan Chersik, the drifter. Nolan Siegel is also here, another one of the young McLaren drivers, just 19 years old, but from Northern California. And he recently won the 24 Hours of Le Mans in LMP2, but joined the Arrow McLaren team mid-season. and he will be out and about. There's also some autograph sessions, one at 1 o'clock today here on site and one at 1:15 tomorrow. Scott Speed is also here. James Kirkham spent a career in competitive racing. He's here too. And who else? Michelle Abate. She's also part of the Women in Motorsport Summit, and she'll be taking part in that with Pippa Mann. And just great to see that Women in Motorsport really, I just feel that 24 will be remembered for the time it truly took off. You've got young drivers like Sabra Cook. She's is here, the Colorado driver who now racing in Porsche, but started off in single-seaters. Michelle Abate, I mentioned, she's a Trans Am driver, and she too is here for that, but she was out in a rally car earlier. Now there's a rather beautiful Porsche. I was having a closer look at that earlier this weekend in the baby blue, Manchester City colours, as some people would say, but baby blue. And it too, a beautiful hypercar. Now, Porsche, I'm just looking at this particular car, their hypercar. And it's interesting when somebody like Porsche attempt that. Here's your Ford. Now, Roman Grosjean was in that earlier. I'm guessing he probably is in it now, and he's got a passenger. But that Ford is absolutely gorgeous, and it's just coming up on the Porsche. Now, Porsche named their hypercar Mission X, a call of tomorrow. I like that. Kev Harris has just wandered in, but you've been running around, having a look at what's going on out there. What is going on out there? What have you seen that you like?
Yeah, well, good afternoon, Johnny, and good afternoon to you, wherever you're watching in the world right now. I have just taken a break from the California sunshine, so it's a pleasure to come and join you in the commentary position here. The aircon. You're probably craving some sunshine. I'm craving some aircon. But yeah, it is hot out there. I was just at the front and centre of the site here at Sonoma, having a chat to Seth Baguette from Gateway Bronco. Those things are incredible, by the way. Classic styling from first-generation Broncos from the mid to late 60s, but with all the modern performance and comfort you would expect from a car that has been built in the 21st century. So technology not dissimilar to some of the high performance machines that we've got on track right now as well, Johnny, as I come and join you for this display of hypercars which just look absolutely stunning. And forgive me, folks, I'm just literally sitting down in the commentary position right now. I'm not seeing timing on the screen, Johnny. Have we got a sort of display going on at the moment, or are these guys actually trying to go wheel to wheel in anger?
Yeah, I'm going to say they're not really looking for a time per se, but no, we won't worry about timing for this one. But yeah, I was just describing how you've got the difference between a supercar and a hypercar. Well, a hypercar is literally the next step from a supercar.
I think it's how much money you got in your wallet.
Kind of, but it really is sort of over 800 brake horsepower, 0 to 60 in nothing, or 2 or 3 seconds. And really, there is no option. There is no sort of holding back. You go for it in terms of design and trying to create the greatest performance car you can, and keep it in the confines.
Yeah, exactly. What we're just seeing on the screen right there, that's the Apollo IE, and thanks to anyone on my Instagram, go with Kev if you saw that and correctly identified it. I took a picture of that one yesterday, Johnny, and put a little thing on the gram saying, who can tell me what this car is? Because I walked past it, I had no idea what it is at first glance, but it turns out there's only 10 of these ever been made in the world. So a bit of a coup to have one of them here. And well, do the Google on this one, but your starting price, you need to have in excess of 2.7 million in your pocket to just put your name on the list to get one when they first came out. And of course, right now.
Sounds great.
And that's before you even put a radio in it or choose your paint color.
Well, that Porsche that was just racing with it, that light blue colored Porsche, is an electric car. You pointed that out to me on yesterday.
Yeah, you can spot them because you know, modern Porsche owners will know this, or hybrid electric Porsche owners will know this. When you see the badging on the side of the car, they've got almost like a lime sort of, I don't know what the Porsche call the colour, but a bright green just behind the raised badging on the side of the car. And I think as well, the brake discs are a lime sort of green colour / yellow colour as well, just to give you that hint of electricity. So that's how you can tell those apart, as we appear to have, I think, what we've got here, another sort of Ford GT on the screen right now, looking beautiful there, absolutely stunning. What a car that is, by the way. The back end of that as well, just super mid-engined hypercar there. The way that rear light cluster sits and the rear aero on that is just so good for me.
Oh, it's beautiful. Now, if you want to know the sort of definition of what a hypercar is, it tends to offer, and I like the word tends, to offer more than 800 brake horsepower, 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds, and hit top speeds ranging from 215 to 270 miles per hour.
Wow. And you bring it coast to coast in the US of A, and you're limited to 55 miles per hour.
Well, not in Texas.
Oh, no, not in Texas?
No. So
no,
what
but these
about,
cars are designed for the track, aren't they? If you're lucky enough to own one of these, you're going to bring it to a track day at every opportunity, aren't you?
Yeah, and in terms of sort of, if you like, the hypercar holy trinity, you've got your McLaren P1s, your Ferrari LaFerrari, and the Porsche 918 Spyder. That's kind of your sort of pecking order in some ways. They are street legal, I may add, and they're sold mainly in the US, and therefore they have to comply to all the, you know, emission standards and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's important too.
So how's it going up here in the booth all day, Johnny? I joke that you're probably craving a bit of California sunshine, but you're enjoying yourself, because to be fair, you do have the best seats in the house.
I do have a decent
I've seen
spot,
some
and I've had
cars,
some
but I haven't seen much racing.
Well, the racing's good. We've had some good racing. In fact, Rob Walton had a bit of a moment in the previous race in his Tipo 61 Birdcage, a very expensive car.
Uh-oh.
And luckily, he gathered it all together, went across the grass, and lost his second position, but made it back out on track and carried on. So good for him.
Well, yeah, good for him indeed. But the pictures have been looking fantastic, so I have been glancing up at a big screen. But you do have the best seats in the house watching it all. But big thanks to everyone that I've been chatting to out in the pit and paddock area. It's the stories for me, Johnny, that make these events what they are. The cars are the stars, I suppose, but it's the stories and the people that make the event. And that's what I've been trying to tune into. So thanks to everyone who's been jumping in on the interviews that we've been doing. Nice to chat to Scott Speed as well a little bit earlier on.
Interesting chat.
The Project Midnight car is something else.
That's special, isn't it?
That really is quite something, coming from the rallycross era. And interestingly, chatting to Scott as well, he's running the course counterclockwise here, but something he's never done before for that hill climb.
I was laughing at Tony Kanaan because I was thinking he's never done that either. He's been here a bunch of times, obviously with Indy, but not backwards.
Not at all.
But just going back, as you say, it's sort of unobtainable. Over 1 million, over 800 brake horsepower, and the other part of a hypercar, or at least the exclusivity of a hypercar, is that your production is maybe 100, maybe 500, but not many more.
No, exactly.
Otherwise, you lose the exclusivity. And certainly companies like McLaren and like Ferrari will do a certain number of cars. And they're pre-ordered. I know with their GT40, the latest one they brought out, there was something like, for the 50th day, there was only 50 cars made.
Yeah.
And you actually had to send in a video, seriously,
no way,
of why you deserved one. And on taking, no, kid you not, because I've spoken to one of the owners, kid you not, on receiving your Ford GT, you then have to agree to exhibit it.
Wow.
Parade it. Get it out there, talk to people, and show people off. So, you became instantly a Ford ambassador by taking reception of one of these cars, regardless of how much it was.
Well, as we look at that GT just going around the track there, I do have to say, Johnny, that is a car that if I had the money, I'd go for straight away.
You'd want to show it to everybody, wouldn't you?
Oh, I would want to show it to everyone. Ford do a colour in the GT called Wimbledon White, which is a sort of like off-white creamy colour. And when the GT Mark II came out, I remember seeing that in Wimbledon white with sort of 2 blue stripes going down the bonnet and over the hood, and for me that is absolutely class. I thought it was superb, so I would love to own one of those. They really are quite something. But yeah, I mean, if you're lucky enough to be in a position in the world where you've got the money to buy one of these things, it's probably one of the best investments you can make, isn't it? Because the moment that you put your name down the list and you get accepted and you buy it, already there's a 10, 15, 100 other guys queuing up to buy it, and they'll pay whatever whatever you want to ask for it if you ever wanted to move it on. So perhaps the best investment you could ever make, a classic or modern hypercar.
And of course, at weekends like this, getting a Romain Grosjean to drive it and maybe sign his name to it, it's just putting the value further up.
It absolutely is, as we see the checkered flag go out. I kind of feel that we enjoyed seeing those cars around the track, but would be nice to see them go wheel to wheel in anger, wouldn't it?
Yeah, no question. You listen to Kev Harris. He'll be out and about with Taylor throughout the afternoon, and enjoy yourself. Don't get into trouble.
Yeah, honestly, Johnny, what a position to be in. What a way to spend a weekend here in California, eh? The cars, the people, the setting. It doesn't get any better, does it?
No, it does not. We're going to take a short break here from Sonoma, and we'll be back in a moment's time, in a few minutes' time, with more action from Velocity Invitational 2024.